something that a lot of parents are scared of, and that is introducing allergens.
We've had quite a journey with her in terms of just trying to figure out, what was actually the issue. She's got a cow's milk protein allergy. When I was breastfeeding, you obviously don't know whatever I'm ingesting, what is Kyla reacting to. So I think the nice thing about giving her allergens in solid form is then we can see exactly.
Really, really important that you expose your little one who's got a potential risk of allergies to allergens early on. Allergen introduction will need to happen over the weekend because I wouldn't encourage you to do it either at a creche, let them do that. I just don't think it's fair for another party to be responsible for allergen introduction. Introduce a new allergen every 3 days. And just observe it, be around, be vigilant, but don't be scared of it. You don't have to pull up an emergency room to introduce your allergens. I think that's important. Hi everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk Baby, and it's so nice to be with you, and I'm joined by my co-host Sammy. Hi Sammy.
Hi Kath, nice seeing you again.
Yeah, always lovely to do these. We always look forward to them. And we're very excited for this one because this is quite a big topic and something that a lot of parents are scared of, and that is introducing allergens to your babies and how to go about it, when to go about it, and what type of allergens are we talking about. So I think just what would be really helpful as we are following Kyla's weaning journey, and if for those of you following our social media and our Instagram and Sammy's Instagram and NutriPede's Instagram, you'll see some little clips of Kyla and her eating and as she's progressing more and more, and that's really, really cute to see. And because she's really, really doing well. So I know we're about to launch into introducing her to all the different allergens out there. So where's she at this moment with regards to her feeding and her eating? Like, how many meals is she doing? What variety of foods does she have? How's she navigating spoons and hand, held foods, etc.? Maybe just give us a little summary.
Yeah, so we've had a great journey so far in that she's really loved food. She's taken it to it really well and really embraced it. So we've kind of taken her lead in terms of how much to offer, when to offer. So we started off, which we touched on briefly in our other podcast, quite slowly and just with a few tastes and with one meal. And we've quite quickly moved on to 3, I think also just because she's enjoyed it so much. So she's on 3 meals. And up until now, it's only been fruit and veg, a variety of fruit and veg, getting creative with different combinations and adding a little bit of spice. She is a social butterfly, so she likes things to not be too boring. And yeah, so we're at the point now where she's really, really enjoying her food and she's taking a nice amount in. And so we are now preparing to introduce her to the allergen. She's also at a nice age now where she's just over 5 months. And so, yeah, that's going to be our next step.
That's really exciting. And I suppose a little bit daunting. I don't know if you and Matt have kind of spoken about it, and maybe just remind our audience just a little bit of her journey up to before we started solids.
Yeah. So I mean, we've had quite a journey with her in terms of just trying to figure out, what was actually the issue. And cutting a long story short is she's got a cow's milk protein allergy. So she's on a very specialized amino acid based formula, which has been working really well for her. She's also really tolerating it wonderfully. And because she's got the cow's milk protein allergy, we are quite nervous in terms of introducing other allergens. I think it's just because you don't know if there is going to be another allergen that she reacts to, and how severe the reaction might be. So I think, we had a bit of a rough start with navigating her symptoms of cow's milk protein allergy in the beginning. And then we found our feet with getting onto, the formula that helped her a lot. And now we started solids and it's been going well and she's loving it. And now I'm like, oh, are we just going to rock the boat again? Is she going to react to something and then we're back to square one? So I'm almost like, I know we have to introduce the allergens, and it's important. Research shows us that it's important to introduce them early. But at the same time, I'm also just like, can we just not and just wait forever, because I'm just so scared we have a reaction. So yeah, I mean, it's exciting as well. I think in this whole time, when I was breastfeeding, you obviously don't know whatever I'm ingesting, what is Kyla reacting to. So I think the nice thing about giving her allergens in solid form is then we can see exactly, is she reacting to this? Is she reacting to that? So I think I'm in a way excited to kind of just tick the boxes and say, this is fine or this isn't fine. But then obviously a bit apprehensive about having her have a reaction.
Yeah, and I'm sure you resonate with so many parents out there who've gone through this. And we know that the non-IgE cosmoprotein allergy, which is most likely what she has, which means for the parents out there that it's an allergen that you can't pick up in a blood test, but it's very real, it's very present, causes havoc in their little systems. Cosmoprotein and soya protein are two of the most common non-IgE non-IgE allergens out there. And so it's a feeling like, do I want to go through this again? Do I want to go down that road? Yeah. But actually, and this is something you and I have discussed, it's really, really important that you expose your little one who's got a potential risk of allergies to allergens early on. And by doing that, you are going to actually help her build tolerance as opposed to actually create an allergic issue. And so the earlier we do that, which is why we start in her now at the age of just over 5 months on introduction to allergens, is because we know that her immune system is a little bit hyper, and that's normally what we see in these allergic babies. So it's a little bit more sensitive to the different foods out there, and particularly the allergens. So that's why we want to give these allergens now, to say, don't worry about it. We'll help you get used to it, and it's going to be okay. So we kind of stroking the immune system gently and just being very gentle with it, and encouraging the immune system to not see it as foreign, not see it as something they have to fight, and just to relax and enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I think what is great is that you have already introduced her to about 10 to 15 different fruits and veggies, and you've done it in different ways. And I know we've spoken about this, but you've kind of gone for a combination between the spoon, where you do some spoon feeding, she takes some spoon from you, and she baby-led weans. So she does that kind of handheld food, and she does her spoon feeding, and she's very competent and becoming more competent and enjoying both, from what we have understood and seen. So that's quite fun, because when I'm going to explain to you now how we're going to do the allergens with her, and for moms and dads out there, that's the route you would go when introducing allergens to your baby, whether they've got a diagnosed cosmoprotein allergy or whether they don't have. This is the way we're going to do the allergen introduction. And the nice thing is, I like to do the allergens before we mix it into the food and make like a whole egg and veggie stew kind of thing. We're going to do it individually, just little bits of the allergen. So I would suggest with her, we start with eggs. And then what you're going to do the allergen for 3 days in a row. So you're going to do day 1, and preferably morning would be ideal. So I know you tend to like to feed her before you go to work in the morning. So that's ideal. For parents out there who don't have the opportunity to do that, then allergen introduction will need to happen over the weekend, because I wouldn't encourage you to do it either at a creche, let them do that in allergen introduction, or your nanny. I just don't think it's fair for another party to be responsible for allergen introduction. So do it where you are around and in the earlier part of the day, so that baby has the opportunity to just show you what they're going to do and how it's going to be.
That's so true, because if you do it at night and baby's going to go sleep, you know if there's a rash or or whatever the case may
Exactly.
be, you actually won't pick up on it. So that's actually a very
Exactly.
good point.
Yeah. And also, obviously, if it's a mild reaction, they just will have a more uncomfortable night. And if they've got a little bit of chance to digest it, then it just also is helpful to do it earlier on. So I think when you introduce it to the egg, you're going to do it. And then the reaction will be within a bad reaction is going to happen within the first immediate introduction to 3 hours. So if after 3 hours, she's not showing you any signs of an issue, or especially a big issue like vomiting or breaking out in hives, or something like that, then you can be pretty sure that she's okay with that allergen and you can safely introduce it the next day. If, however, she has quite an obvious reaction, and with eggs, it's normally a skin breakout or it would be excessive vomiting. They tend to do that. So it's more like gastrointestinal or skin. So it's your gut and they're vomiting, or sometimes they'll have diarrhea, but the vomiting is normally the more common one with eggs. Then you definitely won't introduce it the next day. And I think that's really important for the parents to hear out there, is that if you've had a reaction within the first 3 hours of introduction, you are not going to reintroduce it until you've spoken to your healthcare provider, so that they can guide you as to whether you're going to need to do a blood test to check if it's a legitimate allergen or if it was just a bad initial reaction. But it's easier to be guided. Well, it's important to be guided with that. So let's assume, and we're hoping, that she's not going to have any reaction to her egg protein. And we want to start with the biggies, parents, because if we start with the biggies, we get them out the way and we know we can tick those boxes and sleep well at night. And so we'll do the eggs, and then we do the eggs for 3 days. If after 3 days you're happy, then you can really include it into her diet and into her eating. The first 2 days are the most critical. So for moms who aren't there in the day to be able to do that, they might just be delayed in that every weekend they will introduce a new allergen. And so that is what has to happen, especially your first 3 that we're going to talk about. So your egg is number 1. Then the second one is peanuts. So I definitely don't want you giving her peanuts in the whole
whole peanut. That's a choking hazard. Please don't do that.
Yeah. So we'll do peanut butter. So I think that would be a good option for
Kath,
her.
just a quick one. Quantity wise, how much are we looking at? How much does she actually need to ingest in order to be okay? That is a good indication.
Okay, yeah, that's excellent. So half a teaspoon. So anything from
actually
half
a
to
small amount.
Very small
doesn't have
amount.
to be large quantities.
No, for the allergic child, they don't need a big quantity at all. So you can just give her half a teaspoon, and if she's loving it, you can give her a little bit more. It doesn't really matter. And the next day, so you don't have to go up and up and up. We used to think you had to go today, you do a half, tomorrow you do one, next day you do one. You can just do half every day. Because sometimes they're not wild about the allergen you're introducing, because they're still learning eaters. And so you can be, you want to get it in, you want to get it around their mouth, you want to get it in the tongue area. That's where you want the allergen to be. And they'll definitely swallow some, and that's what you want. So that's what you're going to do. So whether it's your peanut butter, whether it's your egg, that's the quantity, and that's how you'll do it. And then after that, you can do tree nuts. And then do tree nut butter. You get lots of options out there. There are some nice ones that come in sachets.
Yes.
So that you don't have to spend a fortune on a whole jar if you don't see yourself using a peanut butter. So there are sachets available.
Okay, that's really clever. So then just go get 1 or 2 of those. And if I were to give her, let's say, cashew butter, and she's fine with that, does that mean that she'd then be fine with other tree nuts as well?
So generally it means that they are. So it's the similar allergens across the tree nuts. You do have your very allergic, weird allergy kids, but they normally are so allergic. They'll be allergic to cashews and almonds, but not walnuts or something like that. But it's very, very rare and it's more older kids. So it's not something we fuss with in the weaning stage. So just get them into a tree nut butter. As some people suggest, you mix the different tree nut butters. So if you take 3 sachets, you can do cashew, macadamia, and almond, mix it together, and you can give it like that. I'm not particularly phased. It's not really like, well, that's good science, it's just a good idea, but it's not like necessary. And so those are your top 3. Those are the ones that you hear about: peanut allergies and anaphylactic reaction, or severe egg allergies. The whole child like swells up, if they had to have egg. So the first introduction will never create an emergency room visit. It's normally going to be the subsequent introduction that will. And that's why I say after the first one, if you've had a reaction, don't do the second one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, right. And then the sort of, what are your other allergens that you are wanting to tick off? So those are the 3 main ones. And then from there, where do you go from there?
So then fish is another one we would like to. So we kind of, going down in common allergens for children. So fish is not super common in babies at all as an allergen. But if it is an allergen, it's not a great allergen to have, but very, very uncommon for a child to have, a baby to have an allergy to fish. It's more older people. Young adults, actually, interestingly enough, in the 20s are the most common age group for fish and shellfish allergies.
Sure,
so I know moms will often say, I don't want to introduce shellfish because my husband is severely allergic to shellfish. And then I'll say, well, look, you don't have to, obviously you don't want to do anything that's going to put him at harm, but it's unlikely your baby's going to be allergic to shellfish. So you do want to expose them to it and have them get used to it. But it's a weird allergen, and it's obviously we don't have time to discuss it now. But fish would be a good one to introduce. And I normally would suggest that you buy frozen fish from a reputable source, normally one of your kind of boxed reputable fishes. Because then the cold chain hasn't been broken, because we've had kids react to fish, but it's actually been a bacteria that's in the fish because the fish wasn't 100%. So we really do prefer the frozen fish, and that would be a better option. And then you can just and then again, they can just have like little flakes of it. And you can just
don't have to go and have a whole fish fillet.
No, not at all. So and you can use salmon if you into that and your budget allows. You can give salmon as an option, or you can give tuna, preferably not tin tuna in the beginning, because there's obviously there's salt added and things like that. But you can give your normal tuna, or you can give salmon, or you can give your hake or kingklip. So it's absolutely fine. And that's another one, then tick off your box. And then we come to wheat. And I quite like to use a porridge that is preferably just wheat-based, so that you've not got other additives added to it, or a colorant, or a vitamin or something like that. So just a wheat-based porridge. And there's a very tasty one out there. So, they can go and find it and just look on the shelves for a good porridge out there that is just wheat-based. And that again, look, that type of reaction will never be one that you're going to need an EpiPen for or anything like that. But you do want to expose her, and you do want her to have it. And then because she's also a feeder, you can also give her like some sour bread, dough toast, something like that.
Nice.
You can even put the peanut butter. By then she's used to the peanut butter, and you can put it on.
Put it on the toast.
Yeah.
And you said, Kath, you're not looking for, well, you wouldn't get like your anaphylactic with wheat-based products. What kind of reactions would you then get if a baby were to react to wheat? Would it be more gastrointestinal, or what would
it would be normally with wheat, if they're like allergic to wheat, it's normally around the eczema, skin type reaction. Gastrointestinal is more actually a bit older kiddies that react, not your baby, your weaning baby. So these will definitely be more skin if they are a wheat allergic child.
Okay. And then
So,
obviously for Kyla, we kind of holding out with the milk and the soy, but where would you slot the milk and soy in if, let's say, there's a mommy or a daddy that doesn't have an allergy child, or at the moment things have been fine?
mm.
Where would they then put the soy and the milk in?
So yeah, that's a really good question, because I think the cow's milk protein I actually like to do fairly early then, because then you can
Okay.
use like yogurts and you can use cream cheese, which
Yeah.
is quite
Oh,
fun to use.
so many nice snacks that
I
that
know,
we
I
can use
know.
that we
Yeah,
can't yet.
no. So
We'll
for
see.
you moms and dads out there, they can use it. I would slot it
Mhm.
in after your nuts. So you do your egg, your peanuts, your tree nuts, and then you do your cow's milk protein. You can do cream cheese or you can do yogurt, and that
Oh,
will work
awesome.
really well. So, and then your soya, soya kind of comes in once you start bread. So you kind of do wheat and soya together. And
Okay.
it's very low. They either have more like a non-IgE soya allergy, or they don't really. It's not super big in our
Mhm.
world of allergies, but it does exist. It does exist. And, if it'll also be a more skin type reaction. So you don't have to do kind
Okay.
of an isolated soya introduction. I would say that comes through quite easily and enough. So cow's milk
Right.
is the one that you want to include, and do that between the
Maybe.
tree nut and the fish. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, so that will take you a while. I think you will be
Keep me
going on a
busy.
journey. Yeah, keep you busy. And I think the important things out there, moms and dads, is that when you introduce these allergens, and if you have a delayed allergy reaction, so say on day 3 of egg, she comes out in a bit of a rash, or she's not that comfortable, it doesn't mean you don't give egg, but it might mean that that's a discussion you're going to have at your 6-month checkup, as to
Mm.
why is whenever you give her egg, she tends to come up in a just not super comfortable, but not immediately, like a day or 2 down the line. And normally we wouldn't stop introducing or including that allergen in her diet altogether, because we would want to still get her body used to and build tolerance, but you're maybe not going to overdo it and give it a lot.
Mm.
But that gets, obviously that needs guidance and you need
Mhm.
help. So I think for Matter, just to kind of conclude for us, it's important to introduce the allergens. So whether your baby is like Kyla, who has a diagnosed cow's milk protein
Mhm.
allergy, we want to introduce specifically as early as possible to her. So we're going to introduce it now around just over 5 months.
Mhm.
For you, if you have a baby who doesn't have any known allergies, you can introduce between 5 and 6 months, and you want to get that going. Introduce a new allergen every 3 days, and just observe it, be around, be vigilant, but don't be scared of it. You don't have to pull up an
Mm.
emergency room to introduce your allergens. I think that's important. And then the other things like chicken and beef and, those type of meats, you can just introduce as time goes on. And,
Okay.
it doesn't have to be as big. I wouldn't introduce beef and chicken and lamb all on the same day. That's just way too much. So
Right.
I normally say take it slow, give her 1 to 3 days of a chicken and 1 to 3 days of beef, and just, take
Mhm.
it slow. But we'll
But they
definitely
aren't.
unpack it a bit more. Yeah.
But those aren't necessarily, those aren't allergens per se.
Well, they are allergens, but they are very unlikely to cause a
Okay.
highly allergic reaction. So you'll have
Okay.
your children with your F pies, which is another whole topic on its own. And, we'll have certain gastro disorders that will have issues with that. But it's
Okay.
not something that I would say 99% of children would respond to. So,
Okay.
and have an issue with. So I'm definitely would just say go with that, but just get the big ones we've talked about out the
Mm.
way, and then look at it from there. So
Take it from there.
yeah, so I hope that journey is going to be good for her, and I'm sure I'm looking forward to. I'm going to obviously be
Hearing all
following
about it.
really very closely.
Yep. Yep.
And
Yep. We'll
and
see
then we
how
can
it
share.
goes.
Yeah, and we'll definitely share with our families and that how it's gone for her
Yeah.
and how she's done. But I think moms and dads, it's a fun journey, it's an important journey, it's a necessary thing to do. You need to introduce, you need to create variety. That is really important.